What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is another Lost Them Upon reaction. Why do we bash Americans? Now, I don't bash Americans personally. I think you guys have noticed that. I've actually fallen in love with America. From all these reactions, I've realised how big what it is and how beautiful and how cultured and all that good fun stuff I've learned doing these reactions. And you guys have been absolutely awesome to me. So nice, so friendly in the comments as well. Well, some of you are absolute, small majority. A lot of you guys are absolute legends, and I seriously appreciate all the love and all the support. I don't know why a lot of people bash Americans. It is definitely something you do here, and I don't know why they do it. I don't know what they've got against it, and maybe we'll find out. Lawrence, I don't know what his take is going to be on it. I think this is quite an older video, so we'll see. His views may have changed. I don't think Lawrence bashes him either. He's been there for 13 years. He absolutely loves the place, so I'm assuming this isn't about him. He's just saying the general UK. But let's get straight into it. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around it. I'd really appreciate it. 2 reactions every single day. Normally a sport one and then a general one. Sometimes a couple general ones, or just a very random one or something like that. But a lot of the time there's 2 reactions a day. Just loving life and enjoying videos and chatting with you guys pretty much. So if you're into that, hit that subscribe button. I'd seriously appreciate it. Hit that like button as well. You're absolute legends. And let's see why do we, and I assume when he says we, he means Britons because he's lost them upon, he's from England, bash Americans. Let's find out.
Just running, pretending. I'm sitting down while running. You know, it's not a valid form of exercise. Oh, hello. Guess what I've been doing this week? I've been reading Twitter. It's a big mistake. Nobody should ever do that. But while I was reading Twitter, came across this tweet. Take a look at that.
An American friend and her husband had reservations at Nuclear Brighton, an American diner in Brighton. Okay, never heard of it. They were greeted with a sign that said, "Love American hops, but hate Americans." So they walked out, and I would have too. Yeah, I mean, but hate American. Like, why? Why hate it? Why? And I don't get what he means by hops. Love American hops? Is that the food? Because it's a diner. Again, I don't know about that. But why? Why have you got to add the hate Americans bit in? That's just mean. I get that. Take it off the list of diners to visit. Yeah, I won't visit that diner either. I don't think I'll ever go to Brighton, but I won't visit that diner either.
Right, and it got me thinking, you know, why do we bash Americans? And I don't mean we as in me and everyone else. And I don't
either.
You know, politically, there seems to be a tendency toward bashing Americans in general. Now, before I do continue, I should reiterate that, of course, this isn't all British people bashing all Americans all the time, but there is still, nonetheless, this tendency that happens there. And you wouldn't expect a restaurant to write this about other nations or other nationals from around the world, but somehow it's fair game with Americans, and that is something that I've never understood.
I don't know why.
Of course, now I understand it even less, having lived in America for 11 years and married to an American who would not take kindly to me saying such a thing. So, you know, I just wanted to give some thought as to why we think it is fair game. In order to do so, we have to look historically at the relationship, the now apparently special relationship between Britain and America. And so, you know, I think anti-American sentiment, if you want to call it that, among my British compatriots has existed for centuries. I mean, you could go back to the early colonization of what is now the United States. Even after that, take, for example, Samuel Johnson, the inventor of the original English dictionary in Britain. He was the sort of the precursor, I suppose, to Noah Webster in that sense. And, you know, he had quite a strong anti-American sentiment to him. He's the very man, in fact, that said, "I am willing to love all mankind except an American." And that's not all he said. I mean, that's not where it stopped. He also said, by his own choice, this was of somebody who would move to the continent of North America, or just the United States in general. By his own choice, he has left a country where he had a vote and little property for another where he has great property but no vote. And in many ways, that's sort of in line with King George III's idea that as a political entity, America had no hope, that it would go nowhere. And of course, then it did. It became independent from the British. You could almost argue that that may have led to resentment, at least at that very time. I think.
Yeah, I can completely get that. Back then, right? I mean, we've talked about this loads on this channel. I really enjoy that you guys revolutionised. You became your own place. It's manufactured the world we know today. Who knows what it would have been like? We may not have been here. You know what I mean? So there's no bitterness there. And I don't think there's bitterness people nowadays, but I can understand completely why there was bitterness back then. Exactly, you know what I mean? For right or wrong, I can completely understand that. And maybe I'm just thinking now, maybe that's been passed on. It's just been a running thing what's gone, and it's not so much bitter now. It's just something which they do because it's been passed on through generations. Again, Lawrence may tell us further, I do get the bitterness back then. Again, not from me, but yeah, I can see that coming now a little bit.
I think if you were to talk to British people today, they may not even cite 1776 as a
No.
reason for their resentment
Definitely
against
not.
Americans, should they have that resentment. And that's quite an interesting point, right? So I'm not sure that all prejudice toward Americans today is even tied to history. In fact, to its detriment, it often ignores it. In the case of language, actually, quite often, as I've pointed out before, we ignore sort of the historical patterns behind language and how Americanisms came about from Britishisms. You know, I've talked before about the word soccer having been coined actually in England. If you want to talk about lexicon, the same is true of certain spellings of words. Let's look at aluminum. We say and write aluminium back in the UK, and you say aluminum here. Well, aluminum was previously in use in the UK and was debated back and forth between members of the science circle there as to which one we should go with. And then similarly, when we're talking about pronunciation, a lot of Americans have a tendency to drop the H on herb, whereas the British tend to keep it, but that was not always the case. We started out by dropping the H on herb because of the French tendency to do so, just as we do with the words honour and hour and things of that ilk. But we stopped doing that just because it was becoming quite a class issue. If you were doing that in the UK, you were seen as unintelligent at one point.
Wow.
That memo never got spread over here in the United States, so they dropped it. And
which is, again, something I didn't know. I knew about the whole herb thing because we'd done a video on it before, and I was amazed. I was like, because I didn't think about honour and stuff like an hour at the time. And I was like, wait, you say herb and not herb? Where does the H go? And a lot of people did point out to me that, what about honour? What about hour? And I was like, oh yeah, like, the rule makes no sense to me. Like, boom, show me head. I was so confused. But it turns out we were saying herb first as well, which is absolutely hilarious. I knew about the soccer one, but it's just typical, isn't it? That we pick somewhere. And then we now, well, we don't bash. I mean, I don't personally bash, but I imagine some people may bash for saying it the incorrect way because you say it different to us. But no, you say how we used to say it. At the end of the day, who cares how you say it? If you know what the one about, who cares? You know what I mean?
We ignore that fact when we criticise Americans from a linguistic point of view, and that's not where it ends. You could talk about sort of American stereotypes that have emerged. Americans are loud. We talked about this before, but of course that is quite specific to certain things. And you know, just as it would be in reverse if we were to sort of stereotype my fellow countrymen for having bad teeth because of the depiction in Austin Powers, for example, not necessarily true of all British people. We do guide a lot of our things based on stereotypes. I'm talking now, of course, about the present day, having talked about the 18th century. But in between that, the relationship between the United States, or at least the political relationship between the United States and Great Britain, has changed, and specifically in and around World War II, when we sort of forged the aforementioned special relationship. You could still find quotes such as this, which was actually not by Winston Churchill. It's often said that Winston Churchill said it. He did not. There's no evidence for it. The quote came out of somewhere. Somebody invented it. And so I think it's kind of a never-ending thing. But the big question is, why? Why do we bash Americans? We don't do this to people from other predominantly English-speaking countries like Australia or Canada. So we have to look at a couple of things. Firstly, America is a big dog in the world. It's the biggest dog, perhaps, in the world. Has been since World War II. We're very familiar with that idea. So in the present day, if we're ignoring history, as some are wont to do, are we simply looking at how America is a big dog and applying envy to that? Let's not forget, Britain
I get it.
Also thinks of itself as sort of the greatest country in the world.
There's a lot of people who love that idea and stuff like that. It makes sense, you know what I mean? It's kind of like anything in a field. If you're the top person, you're going to get a lot of haters. You're going to get criticism. So that logic does make a lot of sense. People just being jealous because people may be salty that Britain was at one point a huge military power. We're not anymore. We're great allies, and it's fantastic. We're all happy. But some people potentially are bitter. But look how big America is, how great of a military force they are and stuff like that, and be jealous. It makes sense.
Just uses different terminology. You know, it's very proud of what it's achieved, and rightfully so. I mean, we gave a lot to the world of music. We've given a lot to the world of technology, to the world of sport, etc., etc. And so when another country comes along and does all these things sort of bigger and grander and is itself extremely proud of its efforts, perhaps we look at that with a tinge of envy. I'd be
That makes
lying if I
sense.
said we didn't. And at the same time, there is respect. I think there is respect back in England for the
Definitely.
United States. It's a weird sort of back and forth, a Jekyll and Hyde personality that we have
Yeah, definitely.
toward America. But some other things, through television and through media, we are granted, or rather given, an idea of what Americans are like. So we'll more than occasionally
TV's a
see
big
news
thing.
stories like this one. So when we see news reports like this, which I should say are very isolated, but nonetheless very...
Gordon man goes now on over missing beer so many times. He gets arrested. Oh my god, what a story, man. Missing beer. Has people taken him? Or, his wife brought his brew. Oh my god.
eye-catching
Wow.
and loud news reports. We have this tendency to
That is all
assume,
we
I
get,
think,
to be
through
fair.
the frequency of it, that all Americans are like this, when
Makes
in fact,
sense.
through my own experience, I found it to be not the case at all.
Very true.
I think most Americans that I interact with, while just like everyone else in the world may have their own neuroses that are unique to themselves and things of that nature, mostly aren't committing very bizarre crimes in Florida. I think that, partly when we want to talk about British attitudes toward America, you have to remember that Britain just likes to moan. I mean, we do. We're a nation of moaners. I'm not a nation, but I am a moaner by nature
times.
because
I try not
of,
to be.
I think, my upbringing. But I tend to reserve that for things like the weather or the food that I'm about to eat tonight. It's not usually about a group of people from a nation, because let's remember that America is such a diverse nation that how can you really pigeonhole everybody into the same category? It can't be done. To that extent, it is impossible, I think, to bash Americans. You could bash a particular American for something terrible that he or she did, but to do it to a whole nation of people is very short-sighted in my view. But don't feel too bad about that, America, because we don't just reserve it for you. We do something very similar to the French, and for similar reasons as well, both linguistically based and also imperially based, historically speaking. So, when I see a tweet like that I showed here at the beginning of the video, I almost wish I could encapsulate all of these thoughts into one video and reply to that tweet with said video. And now I can.
There you go.
I win. And so that is why we /they/the British don't slash the British. It's not the Revolutionary War. That's why the British bash Americans. Thanks for watching.
That is the end of the video. I also was thinking at the end then as well, when he spoke about you can't actually just bash America because of the size and stuff like that, people don't actually realise how big it actually is. I don't think people realise how cultured, how big and how beautiful it is. I didn't realise until I started watching his videos. I think that is another part of it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any reason to think why you know the answer, let me know in the comments. If you have a reason why Americans potentially bash the British about the teeth stuff like that, again, I don't mind. It's just, I see it a little bit as banter as well. And I know you guys are legends, so you won't be doing it in a mean way anyway. So let me know in the comments, guys. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And what a way to talk about this video. England have hopefully won the Euros as this is getting uploaded. I'll be at the pub right now. I will either be hammered crying or I'll be hammered in joy. Either way, it's going to be a rough morning for me tomorrow. But fingers crossed England has won. I'm pre-recording this the day before. And when this goes out, it should be hopefully England have won the Euros. So fingers crossed. If you see the result, England's lost to Italy, then you know I'll be crying at this very moment. But that's the joys of sport. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.